Hey everyone, welcome back for some more Standard here on MTG Arena, and today I've got something really cool that I'm very excited to show you. This is Gruul Landfall. There's a Selesnya landfall deck that has been getting a lot of attention recently that uses a very powerful synergy between Lumbering Worldwagon and Mightform Harmonizer. Really, that deck is mostly a green deck, and it splashes in white just for a few removal spells like Get Lost and Seam Rip, and then a few other pieces in the sideboard. The thing is, I personally have been very skeptical about that Selesnya build because I don't understand why there's white in that deck other than just having the removal spells. There is no synergy in white for landfall aside from Feladar's Retreat, which doesn't even appear in the main deck. That's a sideboard card. I just don't see why it's worth splashing in a whole second color just for a few removal spells when you could just play mono green and then the deck might synergize even better. To me, it just seems like a result of net decking. People just see that list on an MTGO challenge that did really well and they just copy it without even thinking about it, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to play this deck. For any deck that you find online, including any of my decks and this one that you're looking at right now, you should question it a little bit. You should think about it and ask, why is white in this deck? I don't think that really makes much sense. You're right, it doesn't. It's literally just for Get Lost and just for Seam Rip. So instead, I sought to figure out a color combination that would work a little bit better with the primary cards in this deck. And the reason why I ended up choosing Gruul was for two reasons. One, the mana base is slightly better since we have Stomping Ground. And two, it gives access to Chandra's Spark Hunter, which synergizes really well with the Worldwagon, because with Chandra's Spark Hunter, you don't need a creature on the field to crew the Worldwagon. It's just going to get crewed at the start of your combat phase. And even if you do have another creature that has a power 4 or greater that you could use to crew the Worldwagon, well, now you don't have to do that. You don't have to tap that creature. You can leave it back as a blocker, and Chandra just allows you to attack with the Worldwagon. However, you'll notice that Chandra is not in the main deck list here, but I'm going to talk about her a little bit more in a little bit. Let me start talking about the cards that are here, and then I'll explain why I think Gruul is the better combination for this type of deck. The two 1-drops here are Llanowar Elves and Zaz Chocobo. I don't think it's surprising that Elves is in here because it allows you to cast all of these 3-mana things like a Worldwagon on turn 2 if you have an Elf turn 1. But the Chocobo is a very powerful 1-drop in this deck because really there's a lot of landfall happening here. There's so much landfall between these other spells. If your opponent doesn't answer it, it's going to get to like 5, 6, 7, 8 power. So this really demands that your opponent has an early answer, and for what it's worth, Firebending Lesson might not work on this Chocobo because if it's 2 land drops, all of a sudden it's a 2/3 creature and it doesn't die to Firebending Lesson. Of course, it synergizes really well with a new card from Avatar, Earthbender Ascension. This card is freaking awesome. I haven't played it that much until recently in this deck and also another deck that I've been experimenting with, but this card is just so freaking good. Earthbend 2, go get a basic land, put it on the battlefield, and this landfall trigger becomes so powerful. It's very easy in this particular deck. It's very easy for this thing to get up to 4 quest counters, and now you're just putting +1/+1 counters on your creatures and they gain trample. The trample is so important because if you have a big Chocobo or a big Worldwagon, then you need to actually be able to get in for damage, and that trample is very, very relevant. If you have this huge Worldwagon that has 10 power or something, and you give it trample, now your opponent can't just chump block it. Speaking of the Worldwagon, not only does this synergize really well with the Ascension, because when it enters, you get a land that puts a quest counter on it, but then when it attacks, you get a land that puts a quest counter on it. So you might get to the 4th quest counter when this Worldwagon attacks, and then you can give it trample. You can do that before blockers have been declared. But the main power play here is Worldwagon plus Mightform Harmonizer, because Mightform Harmonizer doubles the power of target creature control whenever a land enters. So this is actually a potential turn 4 win, because you play the Worldwagon on turn 3, and then you warp the Harmonizer on turn 4. You use it to crew the Worldwagon. Then you play a Fabled Passage. The wagon now has 5 power. It could have 4 power if you play it earlier with the Llanowar Elves, but let's say it has 5 power. Then when the wagon attacks, you sack the passage. It attacks, you get another land, then you get the land off of Fabled Passage. You double the power twice, and now you're just slamming for like 40 or 50 damage or something like that. It's absolutely crazy. Now, if your opponent chump blocks, then you can't necessarily get in for damage, but again, that's where the Earthbender Ascension comes in. If you can give this thing trample, now you're just slamming for like 40, 50 trample damage. It's absolutely nuts. So that's the combo here between the Worldwagon and the Mightform Harmonizer. But the Harmonizer also synergizes really well with Ice Till Explorer, because now you get to play an extra land on each of your turns. So if you play a Fabled Passage, now you can trigger the Harmonizer, but then you crack the passage, trigger Harmonizer again. But since you have Ice Till Explorer, you play the passage again because it's in your graveyard. You play it again, things double up, and then you get rid of it, and then you play it, get another land, and it doubles up. So that's 4 triggers off of the Harmonizer with an Ice Till Explorer and a Fabled Passage. It's really, really powerful. You can also do it with Escape Tunnel. Also, with Escape Tunnel, you could potentially make something unblockable. Like if you have an Ice Till Explorer in play that can attack, you can make it unblockable with this Escape Tunnel, and you can do that before this trigger happens. So now you have this unblockable Ice Till Explorer, and you're going to sack your tunnel, then you can replay the tunnel, go get another land, double the power 3 times at that point because you have 3 triggers. And if you have Ascension on the field, then this Ice Till Explorer makes it very, very easy to get this up to 4 counters if it isn't already. And if it is up to 4 counters already, then you're just getting tons of triggers. You're getting tons of triggers off of this Earthbender Ascension. You're putting like 4+++1 counters if you have a Fabled Passage on something, and the Mightform Harmonizer is doubling up the power. So you can make it so that your creature is unblockable, but then all of a sudden it has 20 power by the time it's actually attacking. The Explorer also synergizes really well with the Zaz Chocobo because this is just more landfall triggers, right, to make the bird even bigger. So there's very strong synergy here with this core package of green spells. It all has to do with landfall triggers and rewarding you for getting as many lands as possible onto the battlefield, preferably in one single turn. And together you can just swing for tons of damage with these green spells. There's also pretty strong synergy here with some of these utility cards. So the first one I want to discuss is Esper Origins, because if you mill this off of an Ice Till Explorer trigger, well, now that doesn't matter. You can just flash it back. And really, if you're just using the first part of this where you just pay the 2 mana, that's not really that good, right? You want the flashback version because the flashback is more powerful than just the regular cost. And if this is already in your graveyard, then you don't have to worry about spending that 2 mana to put it in your graveyard. The Esper Origins can also be used to crew the Worldwagon, right, once you flash it back. And then look, in a couple turns, you get +2/+2 and trample and everything. You know, you can do that when you can crew the Worldwagon before while that triggers on the stack, and now the Worldwagon gets +2/+2 and trample. Another spell that synergizes well with the milling is Synchronized Charge. So this has a harmonized cost, which is very easy to pay with either the Harmonizer or an Esper Origins if you have that on the field, because now it only costs 1 green to harmonize it. You get to put ++1 counters on 1 or 2 creatures, and then they get trample and vigilance. The main thing is to trample. That's why it's in here. And again, because it's harmonized, it doesn't matter if you mill it off of the Ice Till Explorer, you can still use it. So this has proven to be a very effective card. You can also put those ++1 counters before you get any Mightform Harmonizer triggers. So now the double up on the power is just going to be even bigger, right? Because the creature's power is already bigger. Now we get to the red cards. So Fear of Missing Out. This was the other card that I was seriously considering putting in here along with the Chandra, because look, if you're milling off of these cards off of the Ice Till Explorer, you might as well have something that is going to also benefit you for having cards in the graveyard, which is Fear of Missing Out because of Delirium. It's very easy to get Delirium with this deck. You have sorcery spells, creatures, you have enchantments, you have the Lumbering Worldwagon with an artifact, and you have all these lands. But not only that, this is just a good turn 2 play. You know, you get to fix your hand a little bit, and if you have an Esper Origins in your hand, okay, discard it to Fear of Missing Out, and now you have it in the graveyard, which is where you want it anyway. You can sometimes do some really crazy stuff with this deck where you have a hugely powerful Lumbering Worldwagon or just a hugely powerful Chocobo or whatever with a Harmonizer in play, and you're making this thing absolutely huge. And then you get 2 combats with that creature with the Fear of Missing Out, especially if you have a way to give it trample, either with the Earthbender Ascension or the Synchronized Charge or whatever. But also with the Escape Tunnel and the Ice Till Explorer, I've had games where I've been able to do this twice to make the creature unblockable. I've made 2 creatures unblockable. Maybe it's an Ice Till and the Fear of Missing Out, both of which have a power 2 or less. So now both of those creatures are unblockable, but then I do that before all of these triggers happen. So then I start doubling up the power with Mightform Harmonizer. Then I start putting ++1 counters with Earthbender Ascension. And now I have these 2 creatures that are unblockable, but their power is absolutely huge. and I get to attack twice with them because, well, I guess attack twice with one of them, right? So I can attack with this, it can't be blocked. I can attack with this, it can't be blocked. And now I can untap, attack again, it can't be blocked. It's insane. There is such strong synergy here with the fear of missing out, with the rest of this deck. And really, the escape tunnel, my goodness, this card does so much work when you are able to make something unblockable. If you don't have the trample, or you're not able to get that mega powerful amount of damage through with the Mightform Harmonizer, then this little bit right here of making the 2 or less unblocked, for one thing, the Earthbender Ascension land, that has a power 2 or less because it's Earthbend 2. Same thing with Bossing Say, power 2 or less, it can't be blocked. So you can make these creatures unblockable, and with the Ice Steel Explorer, you can do it twice, and you can potentially get 2 combat phases with this fear of missing out. The other red card is most likely something you have never seen before, and honestly, it's something that I didn't really know about either. I was just scrolling through the card list, and I found this red card, Quint's Insight. It's from Through the Omen Paths. I'm not sure what this is called in paper in the Spider-Man set, but what it is, at the beginning of your first main phase, you discard a card and then you can draw a card. Okay, so there's a little bit of fixing there. But the other part of this, whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment does 1 damage to each opponent. That synergizes really well with Ice Steel Explorer and Esper Origins, because if Esper Origins is in the graveyard, you're not casting that from your hand, right? Well, same thing with Synchronized Charge. You don't cast these from your hand, you're casting them from your graveyard, so that will trigger this enchantment. But then all of the lands that you're playing from your graveyard with the Ice Steel Explorer, that will trigger this enchantment. So it's just a way to keep pinging your opponent for damage, pinging your opponent for damage. You can potentially get multiple pings in a turn because you're playing multiple lands from your graveyard with the Ice Steel Explorer. The discard and drawing can be a little bit difficult sometimes. Preferably you're just discarding Esper Origins or discarding a Synchronized Charge, right? Or discarding lands because you can just bring those back with Ice Steel Explorer. But maybe you have to discard something because this is not a May, right? You have to do this. So sometimes you have a handful of things and you have to have a tough choice. What am I going to discard here? But it is a way to keep churning through your deck to find what you need. And again, it does synergize really well with the Ice Steel Explorer and the other spells in here. It can also help you get to Delirium because you get a discard outlet. So if you don't quite have Delirium yet, but you have one thing in your hand that you need to discard, like an extra Worldwagon or whatever, and now all of a sudden you have Delirium. The Gruul mana base is slightly better than Selesnya just because we have Stomping Ground, but the Thornspire Verge actually isn't as good as the other one because this one starts on red, unfortunately. The Selesnya one at least starts on green, so then you can still cast your elves and your chocobo on turn 1. But this Verge, you have to wait. If you only have this in your hand in like an escape tunnel, but then you have green 1-drops, that is a little bit awkward. These 2 lands are super important, the escape tunnel and the Fabled Passage, because you get multiple landfall triggers, and especially with the Ice Steel Explorer, you can just replay them. Also, they work really well with Earthbending, because if you Earthbend one of these lands, then you can sack it, it comes back, and you get the trigger, right? Because it comes back on the field, but then you also sacked it, so now you get to find another land. So that's 2 landfall triggers, but then it's still back on the field because it comes back. So then now you get to sack it again and get another Earthbend trigger. If you have a Fabled Passage and you've Earthbent it, that alone might be enough to get this Earthbender Ascension to 4 counters. The 2 Bossing Says, to my surprise, haven't been quite as necessary as I thought they would. I tried running more copies than this. I tried 3, I tried 4, and it just didn't work. It was too often that I was having this thing come into play tapped, which I really didn't want, especially early on in the game. And really, I don't use the Bossing Say that much. You might think it is really good to be able to Earthbend 2, and now you get this extra, your lands become creature, but really it's just not that necessary. It's not necessary to use the Bossing Say to keep threatening your opponent and keep having a creature every single turn, because all these other cards really do a lot of work. And then the last important land is Conduit Pylon. So I'm only running 2 copies of this. I don't think you want to run more than 2 copies because you need the colored mana. You need the green on turn 1. You need the double green for the other stuff in here. Granted, you can just warp the Harmonizer, but the green really is super important. But the good thing about Pylons is that it lets you surveil, so you can potentially put lands in the graveyard or an Esper Origins in the graveyard or whatever. That's great. But then you can also Earthbend this. If you Earthbend this with the Ascension or even a Bossing Say or whatever, then once it dies, you get to surveil again because it's entered the battlefield again. So that's actually a nice synergy here, is that you might get an extra surveil if you're able to Earthbend this Pylons. Let's talk about the sideboard. So there's some things in here that you might not expect expect. I have 2 copies of Dragon Sniper. This is just for other big creature matchups. And also this Worldwagon shell of whatever, like there's a Selesnya one, there's a Simic one, and I'm playing a Gruul one. There's also like some Golgari ones that I've been seeing. So the Worldwagon is seeing a lot more play. Well, the Dragon Sniper is a really good blocker against the Worldwagon unless your opponent has trample, right? But it's because of the death touch. This deck also doesn't really have ways of dealing with flyers, especially big flyers. So that's another reason to have the Dragon Sniper here in the sideboard. Graveyard Hate in the form of Soul Guide Lantern and Keen-Eyed Curator. I thought about having more copies of Keen-Eyed Curator, but really having a 1 mana Graveyard Hate answer has proven to be pretty effective because sometimes you just have 1 extra land available because you're trying to do all your stuff before you put your Fabled Passage in play. So like you play your things, then you play your Fabled Passage, a whole bunch of triggers happen, then you crack it, a whole bunch of triggers happen, but now you have like 1 mana left over, and then that's a good time to play this Soul Guide Lantern. A copy of Vivian. She is really effective against the Lessons deck actually, because the Lessons deck has a really hard time dealing with Planeswalkers, and she can destroy either the Artist Talent or the Monument to Endurance. She's also another good option against decks that play a lot of flyers because you can potentially destroy a creature with flying. A copy of Defend the Rider. This is really good against decks that are highly interactive like Control decks or the Mirror Midrange, because those decks are going to try to kill all your creatures or kill your Worldwagon once you crew it and now it's a creature, but Defend the Rider allows you to protect it. It can protect anything actually. It's any permanent, and it's hexproof and indestructible, so it does get around sweepers and stuff like that as well. A copy of Hazoret Godseeker. This was a bit of a later edition, but really it's proven to be quite good. It's mostly for control decks because it's indestructible, so it gets around all the sweepers and stuff. But again, this unblockable thing, right? That's mainly why it's in here, not just because it's an indestructible creature, because it's kind of unlikely with this deck that you're going to get up to full speed and then the Godseeker is going to be able to attack. It can happen, but it's not really that likely because the only way that you do damage is for directly attacking. You know, it's not through any other triggers or pings or stuff like that, with the exception of Quint's Insight if you have that going. But really, this ability to make a creature power 2 or less unblockable every single turn before all of these crazy triggers happen, it's really, really effective. This is, I think, another big reason to play Gruul is just to have this card available. I think that this card honestly could even be in the main deck. You might want to try to find some room to put 1 or 2 of these in there. Again, there's a lot of creatures with power 2 or less, the Fear of Missing Out, the Ice to Explore, the Earthbend Land from Earthbender Ascension, and Earthbend Lands from Bossing Say. A copy of Heritage Reclamation. This is good in so many matchups. Izzet Lessons, Sultai Reanimator, any deck that runs tons of artifacts, whether it be Jeskai artifacts, Izzet artifacts, Azorius artifacts, any of that stuff. Origin of Metal Bending serves a similar purpose, but I do like the flexibility here. You know, I didn't want to just run Heritage Reclamation. I wanted the flexibility that the Origin provides because it can also put a ++1 counter on your creature and make it indestructible. So having just a little bit of flexibility in the sideboard, even though these 2 cards do serve a similar purpose, it's like if I have both of them in my hand, which is unlikely, but if I do, now I can use the Heritage Reclamation for the purpose of destroying an artifact or enchantment, but then I have this Metal Bending that isn't a dead card because I can put a ++1 counter on my creature, give it indestructible. So having just a little bit of flexibility with my artifact and enchantment removal, this has proven to be really good. And honestly, sometimes I just put this in not for only the artifact or enchantment removal, but just to have the potential to give one of my creatures indestructible. Scrap Shooter, similar purpose here to get rid of artifacts and enchantments, but it also does allow you to crew the Worldwagon. So I'm just doing a little bit of flexibility. You know, I didn't want to put all of my artifact and enchantment removal stuff into one basket and have it all be exactly the same card. But having this flexibility of these 3 options, it's proven to be really nice that I get multiple uses from these cards. You know, it's not just, okay, I'm only using these cards to get rid of, you know, artifacts and enchantments. Like, no, I can give something indestructible, I can remove something from graveyard, and I could crew my Worldwagon with this, right? There's a little bit of flexibility. It also has reach, and you know, a 4/4 creature with reach, that can potentially be really good if my opponent's got Deep Cavern Bats or whatever flyers and stuff like that. A copy of Surak, another good option for crewing the Worldwagon because Surak is a 4/3, but really he's in here for highly interactive decks, just like the Defend the Rider, so control decks, Mirror Midrange, etc. And then I said I was going to get to Chandra a little bit later, right? Well, here she is. So Chandra is really effective in matchups where the opponent doesn't have a lot of answers to Planeswalkers, like Izzet Lessons. She's also just really good post board if you think your opponent's going to put in a lot of graveyard hate, like especially if I'm going up against a white deck that might have Rest in Peace or a black deck that might run Strategic Betrayal. Because now you can potentially take out these Quince Insights, because if your opponent's exiling your whole graveyard all the time, then you're not going to get this strong synergy with the Ice-Till Explorer and the pings from the Quince Insight. Or maybe you want to cut a couple copies of Fear of Missing Out, because again, if your opponent's getting rid of your whole graveyard, then this card isn't that great. But now you can put in the Chandra, and they might not expect the Chandra. And like I said before, the strong synergy here is you don't need a creature to crew the Worldwagon now. You can just play Chandra and attack with your Worldwagon and leave your other creature back as a blocker. But also the first ability to discard a card, because you're probably not going to sacrifice your Worldwagon obviously, but to discard a card, like if you have an Esper Origins or you have a Fabled Passage, just discard it, because you're probably going to get value from it. You know, again, maybe your opponent has graveyard hate, but maybe they don't. So then you can discard the Esper Origins. Now you can play it from your graveyard. You get to draw a card off that. Discard your Fabled Passage. You're going to get use out of it later from your Ice-Till Explorer maybe. Then you get to draw a card. So really, Chandra has proven to be really, really good in this deck. And honestly, she is absolutely main deck worthy. I was trying it. I was trying Chandra in the main deck for a long time, but the problem that I was running into is she does compete with your other two powerful 4-drops in the form of Ice-Till Explorer and Mightform Harmonizer. And the bottom line is, as good as Chandra is, she's not as vital to the synergy of the deck as Ice-Till Explorer and the Mightform Harmonizer. So I was cutting like a copy of Ice-Till to make some room for her, or I was cutting something else, and the deck did get a little bit weaker because of that. You know, I wanted to maintain this really strong synergy with these 6 green spells right here. So having 10 4-drops in the deck, even though Mightform Harmonizer can come down with only 3 mana because of the warp, but having that many 4-drops, it was just clunking up my hands and clunking up my turns a little bit too much. So that's why I ended up putting Chandra in the sideboard as, again, an alternative if your opponent's running graveyard hate or your opponent doesn't have a surefire way to deal with planeswalkers. Now, there's a card from Avatar that is noticeably absent from this deck, and I think you know which one I'm talking about. It is, of course, Badgermole Cub, because every single deck that has green is basically running Badgermole Cub because it's probably the strongest creature in Standard right now. Here's the thing with the Cub. One of the reasons why Cub is so strong is because of Llanowar Elves, because now you play your Cub on turn 2 and you still have mana available. Either maybe you tap the Elves and now you have a land that's still untapped that you have Earthbended, or you leave your Elves untapped and now you can tap that and then you get 2 extra mana, right? So one of the strongest things about Badgermole Cub is having an Elf in play, so that then on turn 2 you get to cast 2 spells. You get to cast a Cub and then you get to still tap the Elf to play another 2-drop, or tap your land to be able to play another 2-drop. That's one of the biggest momentum plays that the Cub really provides. If you notice, like let's say I don't have these red cards in here, right? Because I'm trying to make room for Badgermole Cub. Well, then the only other card that I can play is Esper Origins and Synchronized Charge, which I'm definitely not going to do. I'm not going to play Synchronized Charge until I can attack, right? So it's Esper Origins. Is that really what you want to be doing? Do you really want to be doing that? Do you really want to play a Badgermole Cub and an Esper Origins turn 2? Like, look, Esper Origins is a really good card, but you don't want to just play this in your hand. You want it in your graveyard. So now you don't have a way to discard it, to put it in the graveyard. And then if you're just casting it, I mean, it might help, but it's not really that great. You're not expanding your board at all. So without another strong 2-drop, it's like if I have an Elf, I'm not going to play Badgermole Cub. I'm going to play my Worldwagon. I'm going to play my Earthbender Ascension. Then after that, you can play the Cub and maybe you can get some more value. But the point that I'm saying is that the Cub wasn't really providing the same amount of value that I thought it would, like it does in other decks for me, because there wasn't a really strong 2-drop to follow up after the Cub is played. And if you don't do that, then your Cub is probably going to get removed because your opponent is going to use whatever removal spell they have on it. So the only value you actually got from the Cub was earthbending a land. That's it, because by the time your Cub gets removed, you're not getting the value from it anymore. That's not very good value, not for this deck. So instead, at least with Fear of Missing Out, instead of the Cub, now you get to discard something and draw, so you immediately get value from it as soon as it hits the battlefield. Like if you discard your Esper Origins, the Fear of Missing Out is also slightly harder to remove because it has 3 toughness. And then again, there's that strong Delirium synergy if your opponent doesn't remove it. If your opponent does remove it, well, now that's a creature and enchantment in the graveyard, which might fuel your Delirium for the next Fear of Missing Out that you play later on in the game. But also, you already got good value from it. You already discarded something and drew something. Whereas the value from the Badgermole Cub was just like you earthbended a land and that's it. Now, one thing that I was trying was you might not have to run this thing. Like here, you could cut like these 2 cards right here, not play Quince Insight Insight, not play Synchronized Charge, play 4 copies of Agile Cub, and then 3 copies of Fear of Missing Out. This actually does work pretty well because now you can follow up your Badgemal Cub with potentially a Fear of Missing Out, and now you've got really good value. You've been able to do that all by turn 2, and then you have a little bit of extra mana later if your Cub sticks around to do all of your big stuff. So that was something that I was trying, and it was working pretty well, but this Synchronized Charge, honestly, it's pulling more weight. That might sound really surprising, but it just is. These counters and this trample is so important. It's so important to have the trample in this deck as a way to just pound that damage through, because otherwise your opponent's just going to chump block the Worldwagon and that's it. Or they're going to block it with a 4-power creature and then your wagon's going to be gone. So this Synchronized Charge really is doing a lot of work. I don't think you need more than one. One has proven to be pretty good, but you could potentially run 2, and I think that would be fine if you wanted to try 2 copies of this. You could cut a Quint's Insight, play another copy of Synchronized Charge. I think that could work pretty well. But the point that I'm making, much to my surprise, the Cub was not providing the same amount of value that it does for me in other decks, which I was really shocked about, but it just doesn't because there wasn't a strong 2-mana play to follow up after you've played the Cub. Now, you could play Azaz Chocobo, but at that point, you've already played your land. You want to have a landfall trigger, preferably the turn that the Chocobo lands, unless you play Chocobo on turn 1. But if you play the Cub, you've already played your land for turn, so then you're not going to get the landfall trigger off of the Chocobo. Another card that's absent from here is Colossal Rattleworm. That card is pretty good because if it ends up in the graveyard off of the Ice Teal milling, then you can use it to go get a desert, which in this case would be Conduit Pylons. Or if you have a Conduit Pylons, then you're able to, it has flash, so now you're able to flash in this giant creature that is trample for only 4 mana. That's potentially really good. And the trample is relevant, like I was saying, because if you're doubling up that Rattleworm, now this is a huge creature that can attack, right? The thing is that because I went down to only 2 copies of the Conduit Pylons, I don't think that Rattleworm was providing as much value as I wanted it to, because there were situations where either my Pylons was in the graveyard or I had my one other Pylon on the field already, you know what I mean? And I wasn't able to actually exile that Rattleworm from my graveyard to go get a Pylon because all my 2 Pylons were somewhere. And again, when I was running 4 Pylons, this is already 8 lands that don't give you color early on in the game, at least not, not untapped colored mana, right? So having 4 Pylons, it's like now I had 10. It was just too much. It was really stuttering my turns that I wanted to play out. So you could potentially not play the Escape Tunnel, run 4 Pylons, but again, the Escape Tunnel, man, it's not just being able to fetch a land, it's this other ability to make something unblockable. It is so good. It is so strong, especially with the Fear of Missing Out. So that's why I'm not playing the Worm. It's a little bit surprising, but really I wasn't getting the value that I thought I would. But I do think there is a world where you play the Worm. Like maybe you don't play the Quint's Insight. You could just play 2 Worms here and that might prove better for you. The main thing here, everybody, is that I really do think the Selesnya version is inferior. I think that this Gruul version is much stronger. And again, I don't see why you play Selesnya. I don't see why you play white. You're just playing for Get Lost and Seam Rip. No synergy or anything like that. It's just extra pieces of removal. And while removal is important, especially Seam Rip, because it can Seam Rip an Artist Talent or the Grand or the Storm Chaser's Talent or the Otter, whatever. It just doesn't synergize, and the synergy is so important in a more aggressive deck like this. Let's move on to the gameplay so that I can show you this Gruul deck in action. I hope you all enjoy. Okay, on the play, it's not bad. It's also not great. Yeah, it's not that good, actually. So what do I need here? A Chocobo would be good because I have the Ice Till. A Wagon would be good because I have the Harmonizer. So maybe I can find those things with Esper Origins. This hand really isn't that good. I think I should have mulliganed this. Okay, does Elves change the equation? Maybe. I can play Ice Till. I don't like the idea of playing Ice Till without a payoff, like without a Fabled Passage, without a Earthbend Ascension as well. Okay, there's the Earthbend Ascension that I want. Interesting, nothing for my opponents. Oh, I'm gonna shuffle away that boss thing, say I forgot. Tempting to just play the Elves and leave that boss thing stay on top. I mean, I can play Esper Origins. I'll have 4 mana from this. All right, let's do it. And I think I'm gonna get my mountain. Sure. Sure. Okay. Fabled Passage was a really good find. So what am I doing here? If I play Ice Tail, I do get Earthbend Ascension to 4 counters. If I play the Harmonizer, how much damage am I doing this turn? Not that much, right? It's just like 8. I think we should wait on the Harmonizer. I feel like I should not crack the Fabled Passage yet, but let's get it on there. Get it on the field. And then who am I giving this counter to? I feel like it is the Ice Tail. It could be the land, though. Shocking that in. Oh, that's why. Oh, so this is a Discover deck. Okay. Okay. Haven't seen one of these in a long time. Okay. Can I cast both Harmonizers? Yes. Yes, I can. And then the Ice Tail will have Trample. Warp this. Warp this one. So now we just sack this land and do it over and over. So have the Earthbend happen first. Yeah. Cool, so that worked. Might not need to change too much here. Yeah, might not need to change too much. The trample is going to be very important. I could put in Vivian and just like take out one of these insights just to get rid of the Sage. Like if I get rid of one Sage. And they also have Carnosaur if it's discovered. They have Carnosaur, Quintorius, Sage, Atali's Favor, Geological Appraiser. Don't think Dragon Sniper is that great. Hazoret maybe, because if I make one of these creatures unblockable, then it gets past the lifelink Sages. I think I do just want to put in a Vivian. Just take out an Insight, put in one Vivian. Okay, this hand looks pretty good. This hand does look pretty good. I might need to discard this Bossing Say, though, because I do want the Surveil to potentially trigger Delirium, or potentially set up Delirium. And I don't want to get rid of Stomping Ground because I need to cast the Fear. If I draw a land, that's actually favorable. See if I draw a land. I did. Okay, now we're in business. Now we are in business. Sure. Okay, maybe I should just discard this Esper Origins though instead of the land. Actually, no. I should discard the land. Because I can cast this to put it in the graveyard, and that might trigger Delirium. Put the land in the graveyard. Okay. Ice Till is actually good. Tempting to Ice Till next turn. Okay. Fabled Passage was a good find too. Okay, what am I doing? Should definitely play the pylons. I should put that in the graveyard, I think. It's tempting not to though, because it is tempting not to, because I can get both of these on the field at the same time with the elves in play. Because I have 2 more lands, so I can play both. I'm not sure if I should play the Fabled Passage. I don't know how much milling I really want to do here. Okay. Do I get the mountain? I guess I might as well. Okay, well Vivian's in the graveyard, which does give me Delirium with the Esper Origins. Okay. Okay, they hit a Sage. Okay. Tempting to just play the Harmonizer and wait a turn, because I don't have a way to get the damage through without trample. Tempting to actually cast Esper Origins, like both sides, just to get the trample going. Really tempting to do that, actually. I think I should. Really tempting to do that. Okay. Got Delirium. That actually might do it, because I can make Ice Till or Fear of Missing Out unblockable. And have 2 combat phases. Actually, wait, so can I win the... You know what, I'm just not going to think about it. I'm just going to set up for next turn. Put this in the graveyard. I'll leave that there. I can put the land in the graveyard, of course. And then I'll just pass turn. I guess I could have played one of those lands. But I'm just taking too much time, that's why I'm being too slow. Damn it. Okay. Could I have won last turn? Maybe. Wow. What a draw. Can I win this turn? I don't think I can win, but I think I can do a lot of damage. So with this on the stack, I'm going to sacrifice it. Oh, I couldn't do that. So now I'll just leave that there, I guess. Why couldn't I sack it in response to the trigger? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe I was supposed to hold full control or something? Maybe I was supposed to hold full control. Yeah, I think I was supposed to hold full control, that's all. Sure. Okay, so now, well, I might still actually win with the trample now. Man, I did not play this right. Okay, well, they just give up. I didn't play that right at all. Why couldn't I sack the land in response to the trigger? I think I needed to hold full control. Because I definitely should have been able to sacrifice this land in response to that trigger. And then I might have won last turn. I think I do win this turn though with both Harmonizers. Ooh, this is terrible. This is good. Now what do I get rid of? Maybe a land. But if they kill my elf, then it's really bad. But I might be able to get rid of a land. Okay, well I think my elf was dead if they have Swamp Candy Trail. That's not good. Ugh. Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to cast anything in my hand now. Okay. Gotta be Earthbend Ascension, I think, instead of the wagon, right? Because I would find it surprising if I win next turn. I mean, I have the combo, right? The wagon plus the Harmonizer, but with only 2 lands, get a land with this, play Fabled Passage. This becomes an 8-power creature, play a land. Yeah, but then they can sack the Candy Trail, so it'd be 20 damage, but... Interesting. That was unexpected. Play Wagon and play Esper Origins. Can definitely get rid of this land, right? Or do I need it before I do the Ice Till? I think I need it. Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be 7. I can play both. So I do need it. I guess I don't need the Worldwagon. Well, it'll end up in the graveyard anyway, right? Yeah, it will. Okay. Are they holding removal is the question. Seems like yes. I kind of don't want to put this on the Ice Till. Just put it on the land, and then maybe we can block that Tenacity. They definitely have removal. They definitely have removal. I think I just want to cast this Esper Origins. Put this in the graveyard, and then maybe keep the Chocobo. Yeah, I don't want to activate the Worldwagon. They have removal. Sure. Okay, I think the Harmonizer might win me the game. Actually, maybe not. Well, maybe, right? With the 2 of them and the charge. Yeah, I think I do with the charge. Because I can use both to harmonize. So play this. Play this. And then use 1 to crew. Use 1 to harmonize. And then attack, and then I get the land trigger. Yes. And then double the power. Oh, that's right, I also get one of these triggers, so it's easily more than enough. Cool. So that worked. So it's a control deck, but it's mono black control? Is it mono black control with Enduring Tenacity? I mean, if you're gonna play like Ugin and Candy Trail and the Tome, Maze Mind Tome, then Enduring Tenacity does make sense. I actually kind of like that build. It's kind of interesting. So it's mono black control with Ugin and those other colorless control, spells and Enduring Tenacity. Okay, so then what do I do here? Might put in Strategic Betrayal, might put in Soul Guide Lantern. So maybe my Graveyard Shenanigans aren't as useful here. I think I'll cut a Fear of Missing Out and put in Hazaret because it will get around indestructible stuff. Maybe defend the Rider as well. Can possibly cut an Earthbend Ascension. The Trample might not be as necessary here. Well, actually, maybe I don't need the Synchronized Charge because I would have won that game without the charge anyway. I don't think Trample is going to be that important here. What else? The artifacts and enchantments. I mean, the artifacts aren't that important. I could see putting in a Metal Bending though, right? Because it might also save one of my creatures in addition to killing one of the enchantments or artifacts. Okay, let's try this. Okay, this is not bad. It's definitely not bad. Definitely not bad with the Fear coming down on turn 2. This is not bad. Okay, I'll just crack this now. Not waste time. Get the mountain. Interesting. I think I could just put one of these Ice Tills in the graveyard, right? I mean, I also might just be able to put an Elf in the graveyard. Sure. Oh, never mind. I thought they were going to remove my Fear. Take whatever. Probably going to take the Harmonizer. That's the, yeah. That's the win condition right there. Gets exiled. Okay, the wagon is not bad. But I think it's better to play Ascension right now. I guess I can attack first. Okay. That's interesting. That is interesting. I'm wondering how relevant the Ascensions are with an Ice Till in hand, because they'll both get to 4. I mean, the wagon without a Harmonizer doesn't really do much, does it? I guess I can actually, well, I can also just make this a 4, right? Attack for 4. Actually, if I do that, then I can crew this. I think it's better to play the Ascension, actually, instead of the wagon and crewing it. I'm gonna run out of basics soon, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, that's an infinite combo, right? Yeah. So I can't even escape, right? No. Maybe I should put in Dragon Sniper then, just to block the cleric. Or Scrap Shooter. Yeah, I might not really need to defend the Rider after all. Put in Dragon Sniper, probably put in Scrap Shooter. Take out this, and you could probably take out the Hazaret. Or take out the Quince Insight. I think we should actually keep the Fear. I was worried about Graveyard Hate, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going for the Conqueror combo. This is not good enough. Is it? I mean, this is like the win condition. Yeah, I guess I'll keep it. I have the... Actually, I do have it. Yeah, I'll keep it. Okay, I don't need the elf, but I will take the ice till. I don't need the mountain. Yeah, I'll just get it anyway. No, I don't need it. Okay, now the question is, are they holding removal? They haven't played a lot of removal spells yet. I'm going to play the Ice Still. Actually, maybe I'll play Esper Origins. No, I'll play the Ice Still. See what they do. Oh, okay, so I could have won the game this turn. That sucks. Okay. Okay, so I win. Yep. Cool. Could have won last turn, but played around the removal. I was hoping that they would just use the removal on the Ice Tail, but I guess they just didn't have it. Okay, on the draw, I guess it's good enough. Okay. Better to play Wagon or Earthbender Ascension? I mean, if I draw a Harmonizer, I might actually win the game because I have the passage in hand. Okay. They're main decking Raw. Okay, well, didn't draw a passage, or didn't draw a Harmonizer, I mean. Okay. They have a Firebending Lesson. I guess I can cast this Synchronized Charge, but I probably shouldn't. And I guess I can, though, because it's going to end up in the graveyard then, and I can potentially recast it. I mean, obviously, it would just go on the Elf, but... then the elf doesn't die to Firebending Lesson. I mean, do I even need the elf? Probably not, right? Maybe I should just save this, put it on like the wagon or something. Sure. Sure. Okay, so play Earthbend Ascension. I guess they can combustion technique my wagon. Fabled Passage does not get this to level 4. Oh no, it does, because this will also put a land in play. I want to put it on the wagon, but I don't think I can. Or actually, I think I'm going to hold full control for this. Oh, they just quenched me anyway. Sure. Sure. Ice Chill Explorer, huh? Okay. Oh, I could have played around that. But then I wouldn't be able to crew the wagon. Play this first. Okay, well, I need that. Oh, but it's going to get shuffled away. Oh, I can decline. Okay. 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 They already did every mode. So I should have it next turn. Damn. So close. Just put in all this stuff. The wagon really isn't as good with combustion technique in their deck. It also does die to firebending lesson. Probably just take out the chocobos. Tempting to just take out fear as well. Need to cut 2 cards. I think I do want to get rid of the fears and then just play Chandra instead. Okay, this is probably good. Oh, I guess I should have done this, right? I should have gone for the combo. I mean, I don't have a Fabled Passage, but I might draw one. At least this way I get to play this and hold up Defend the Rider. Okay. Sure. Okay. So Escape Tunnel might actually do it. Play this and hold up Defend the Rider. Sure. They need Grand or Storm Chaser's talent right now. Okay. I might actually win then. Do the thing. Do the thing. There we go. Okay, so that went according to plan, obviously. Really don't think I need to change anything here. I mean, honestly though, it is tempting to maybe instead of this, put the wagon back in, because that is the win condition. So I think that was a bit of a mistake taking one out. Because obviously if I didn't have it in my opening hand, I wouldn't have won that game. Well, I wouldn't have won it that turn at least. I think this might be better. Let's try this. I was thinking the Ascension is good for the trample, but it's probably not necessary. Well, this is really bad if they kill my elf. If they don't kill my elf, this is actually keepable. Oh God, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna regret this so bad. I'm gonna try it. Did they mulligan? Oh my gosh, I'm getting really lucky here. Oh my God. Oh my God, are they mulliganing the 4? Well, they might still have firebending lesson in hand, in which case I can't do anything. What a ridiculous game. I'm sorry, BJ. That sucks, man. That really sucks. Oh my God, mulligan down to 2? That's really rough, man. I'm just sorry to hear that. It's really rough. Hey, he can still win. He's got the best deck in Standard right now, so. Except now I can play Chandra. Okay. We do. Oh boy. Hey, you know what? It's all right. I believe. I very much believe, man. So let's discard a card. And I think I can just discard this synchronized charge. No, we'll discard the Esper Origins for sure. Take the action. All right, come on, BJ. Hang in there, buddy. Okay. I mean, I'm going to blow that up now, though, unfortunately for him, but... Okay. What do I do? Earthbend, Ascension, and Wagon. Discard the sync... Oh, no, I need to do this, right? So let's discard the Synchronized Charge. Okay. I'm going to just blow this up. right now. And then I think Earthbend Ascension. I guess I'll just get the mountain. Alright, well, I win next turn. That's so rough, man. I'm sorry, BJ. Really sorry, buddy. That is just really, really rough. Mulligan down to 2. I mean, there had to have been one hand in there that you could have kept, but it's just, that's really rough. Okay, on the, well, this looks awesome. This looks awesome. Hopefully it's enough. Now, what am I going to discard with this Sphere is the question here. If I play the Elves, I can play the Sphere and Chocobo next turn, and then play Ice Still on the turn after that. But what am I discarding with the Fear? It's tempting to like play the Chocobo and discard the Elves with the Fear. All right, let's just try this. Hopefully I find something that I want to discard with the Fear. If I get an extra land, I can discard the land. Interesting, okay. All right, well now I can discard the other Fear. Or do I just like do the, I think I do this. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. Okay. They're also, ooh. I don't want to play the Ice Tool right now. I would rather play a Fear. And I'm tempting to actually discard this instead of this. But I have this with the Ice Tool, right? Yeah, having this with Ice Tool is a nice combo. Play Chocobo. There's no lands in the graveyard, unfortunately. Seems like some kind of Simic ramp deck. Okay, that's definitely what it is. Okay. Nice. If it was a red land, it would be even better, but that's okay. Would have been nice to have that Earthbender Ascension, actually, but hitting for a lot of damage here. Okay. Okay. Seems like they're a very similar deck to mine. They're a very similar deck to mine, I think. They probably have Wagon and stuff. They're playing Winter Night Stories. Okay, so this is that Simic version that plays Winter Night Stories. It's literally my deck, but just playing blue with Winter Night Stories instead. Okay, might want to make something unblockable here. I'm going to hold full control. Because I want to be able to sack this in response to the trigger, right? Okay, now I have Delirium. So I think I can still do this and make the Fear unblockable as well. Or is it better to sack this land to find a land? I think it's better to do this. Okay. So now I don't need to hold full control anymore. Okay. Yeah, I think that was lethal, right? With just this stuff. That was a really cool sequence. So let's see. What do we need? Probably don't need the synchronized charge, actually, I feel like. I do need things to destroy their wagon. So Heritage, Origin, Scrap Shooter. I don't think I need Vivian. Tempting to put in Dragon Sniper, actually, just to have a blocker against the wagon. This blocks the wagon. They would need Trample. I'm going to take out this. I'm going to leave this, though. I might trim an Elf. Their deck does exactly what mine does. I think I do want to get rid of the Synchronized Charge, actually. Cut an Earthbender Ascension. I think I can cut an Elf. I don't know, though. It's tempting to leave it because if I'm on the draw, I might need that extra mana, and they're not going to have removal for my Elf early. Maybe I do just trim one Fear. Try this out. Let's try this out. Man, that Escape Tunnel and that Fear did a lot of work the last game. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. Sucks. Okay, this will do. Yeah, this will do. Don't want to get rid of the Fabled Passage with a Chocobo in hand. Don't really want to get rid of the Escape Tunnel either, same reason. I don't want to get rid of the Esper Origins because I just might need it. Maybe not, though. Maybe we just do this and just try to go ham with the Chocobo. Except this doesn't allow me to cast the wagon on turn 3, so let's keep the pylons. Okay, let's try that. It's not great, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, another land is not good either. Sure. Ice Toe was a really good find. Sure. Sure. Yeah, it's literally my deck, but just playing blue instead. Oh, that's an interesting attack. I don't need to play that Scrap Shooter. I need to wait to play that Scrap Shooter to either get rid of Esper Origins or get rid of a wagon. It's better to play my wagon. That can go in the graveyard. I think I leave this Chocobo back as a blocker. Sure. Sure. Get rid of the wagon now. Okay. Yeah, not very good plays. Just have to get rid of the wagon. Is there a world where the Ice Till Explorer is better? Probably not, right? Probably not? Actually, wait, maybe. Because then I think I can... Am I going to have enough mana to play the Scrap Shooter and the Ice Till? No, I will not. But is there a world where I can smack for enough damage right now? Well, there's no way for me to give Trample. This Chocobo is going to be huge. See what happens. Sure. Okay, so now I need to decide if I'm going to block because then I don't have a way to crew the wagon. So I think I do just take this damage actually. Okay. I think just start with this. See if we find something. I guess I'll just get this at this point, right? Okay. So I don't think I have the means here to get lethal. Yeah, I don't see a way. I mean, I can attack for a lot, but it's irrelevant. They just chump block. They just chump block and then the Esper gives everything, trample and everything. Okay. Yeah, so I can't even find lethal here. They can just take the damage and then they'll kill me. Okay. I don't think I need to change anything here. I mean, it is tempting to like put in some graveyard hate, but I don't know because if somebody was playing against me and they had a Soul Guide Lantern or a Keenite or something, it wouldn't really matter because as long as the Ice Till is on the field, I can just keep milling over and over and over again. So I can just keep filling the graveyard. It would have to be like a Rest in Peace that continually exiles. Don't think I need to change anything here. Terrible opening hand. Not great opening hand, but it is keepable. And really don't want to get rid of this, but I guess I have to. It'll be shuffled anyway. We'll just do this now. Another Ascension is not great. I can probably get rid of that elf. Sure. Do it on the pylon so that I can surveil again if it dies. Sure. Sure. Okay. Tempting to actually play the Scrap Shooter here. But is it better to set up my stuff? Maybe. Because I can get the Earthbender Ascension. Like, I would have to chump block, right? I can get this Ascension to 4 counters, though. I can get this Ascension to 4 counters, and I might be able to get the next one to 4 counters as well. With the Ice Till, I mean. Sure. Now I guess I just lose the land if I block. Sure. Sure. I lose this land, right? If I block with it. I kind of want to test it out. I think I lose the land though, right? I lose the, yeah, abilities removed. So yeah, I lose the land. Okay, Dragon Sniper was a good find. I guess I don't need to play the Scrap Shooter then. Oh, I guess I did, because I need to mill like a forest or something right now. Do this first. Kind of want to do this before everything. Do it before the ice seal for sure. Let's put it on the land, I guess. This is just going to end up in the graveyard anyway. Yeah, I guess I should have just played the Dragon Sniper because I didn't have a Fabled Passage in the graveyard. Sure. Oh, it still comes back. Oh, are you kidding? It still comes back even with an Unable to Scream? I didn't know that. Okay. Well, now I know. So with like Mightform, Harmonizer, and the Ice Till, do I just like win the game with the Ice Till that's currently on the field? Maybe. Okay. So yeah, I think with this and this, I just win. Warp this. I think we want to tap like this. Yeah, I think with just the escape tunnel, I win. Yeah. Well, that was interesting. Somewhat of a mirror match, but just with a Simic deck instead of a Gruul or a Selesnya. That was interesting. The Unable to Screams really did slow me down, but I did not know that. I would have blocked with the land sooner if I knew that it came back. Even when I guess it's because Unable to Scream goes to the graveyard when the land goes to the graveyard, so then the trigger comes back, I guess? I don't know. Maybe it's because, oh no, it's because it's a delayed trigger, right? The Earthbend is a delayed trigger. It's the same thing like with Day of Black Sun, how when all creatures lose all abilities, but then the lands still come back. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Unable to Scream. Damn, I wish I had recognized that sooner. So, I hope you enjoyed this gameplay featuring Gruul Landfall. I've been very impressed with this deck. It has done better than I expected, and really, I'm super impressed with Earthbender Ascension. This card is really cool. I want to see if I can fit it into some other builds that I'm working on. I'm sure you're wondering how the deck did, and these are the results. All of these matches played in Mythic, a very worthwhile performance, and you saw in the gameplay just some of these crazy turns where I'm just chunking my opponent for tons of damage and winning the game in a single turn. As I said before, I really do think that this is superior to the Selesnya version just because of the added synergy here of Fear of Missing Out and Chandra Sparkhunter. These are the main two cards. I don't think this version is quite finished yet. You know, I do sideboard out the Quince Insight a lot, so maybe this card isn't really that great, or it just belongs in the sideboard and something else belongs in the main board, possibly Chandra. So you can tinker with this deck yourself a little bit and see if you find a build that's even better than the one that I'm showing you right now. That wraps this one up. If you enjoyed, then drop me a like to beat the YouTube algorithm and leave me some feedback in the comments. What do you think about this Gruul Landfall deck? How do you think it compares to either Simic or Selesnya? Are there any other cards that you think might make this deck even more powerful than it already is? Also, if you would like to discuss some of your brews or find some like-minded people to play Magic the Gathering with, then you can join my Discord server that's linked in the description. And lastly, if you are a fan of this kind of Magic the Gathering content that gets deep into deck building, mechanics, and aspects of the game, then subscribe to the channel to see more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.